Alright guys, I'm going to make your video here on slope before your quiz tomorrow. Remember, slope is the first thing we introduced slope as was delta y over delta x. And remember, you can find that in the classroom, right? Well, delta, that triangle, really just means change in math. So this is really saying change in y value over the change in the x value. Okay, in your book sometimes it tells you it's the vertical change over the horizontal change. And I told you the words that I grew up knowing that as was rise over run, right? All these things mean the same exact thing. It all comes back to slope. And another term you'll see slope used as is rate of change. How much is it changing by? Now remember, it's always vertical over horizontal or rise over run. So you got to look at, when you make your fraction, it's the up and down. How much did you go up or down? And then how much did you run by? How much did you go left and right by? Okay? And you've got to stay consistent with it. Meaning if you go from one point, say you go from this bottom point, if you go up, right, then you got to go over to the right. If you start at this point and go down to this one, then you got to go down, and then you got to go to the left to get to it. Okay? And you'll see a little more of that here in a second. Okay? So let's go ahead and make a line on this. I'm going to try my best to pinpoint this line to show you. We'll start with an easier one. Okay? Well, that's not going to cut it. Hang on a second. Let's try that again. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So let's say this is what the heck? There we go. Okay. So let's see, this is the line we get here. Okay. Now you want to find spots where it hits that grid exact. Okay? Meaning, whenever I see this, well, yeah, it hits 2. But whenever it hits 2, does it hit that 1? Does it hit that little spot there? Does it hit over 2 up 1? No, but it does hit the point 4, 1. And it also hits the point over 8 up 2. Now remember, coordinates are x first, then y. You think of the coordinates, you think of the alphabet. You're going to go the x value first, then the y value. So that's how I got these coordinates. And then again, another coordinate on here is 12, 3, right? Okay? So again, you want to do rise over run. Well, in this case, if you've ever got this situation, you want to make it easy on yourself. And remember, to make a line, you only need 2 points. Okay? So remember, I showed you we had 1 point, and I said make a line through that. Well, you can make a line all kinds of different ways through that, right? But, and I'm talking straight lines here. Okay? With 2 points, you only have one option. If I could make a good line through that, you only have one option to make that line, right? Here, I'll use my line tool. Your only option for a straight line through both those points is through those 2 points, right? You can't, there's no other line you can make. So you need 2 points. So that's why slope, you need 2 points to find the slope as well. Okay, and if you've got 0, 0 as a point, that's really easy for you to use because you can go up and over, and from 0 to any number, it's going to be that number, right? For example, in this case, how much did you rise right here from 0, the point 0, 0, up to this point, which has a y value of 1? How much was your rise? Remember, it's rise over run. How much was your rise? Well, you went from 0 to 1. That's a rise of 1. And then from there, how much did you go over? Well, when you went up 1, you went over 4. So what's your slope? Your slope is 1/4. Now why is it a positive slope? Because from left to right, this thing's going up, right? Now I had somebody earlier today say, well, this is a negative slope because this line is in the negatives. No, it's still going up from left to right, right? It's still going to have a positive slope. Sorry, we had a little announcement there. So, remember, it's always positive in this because it's going up from left to right. Okay? Okay. Also, you could start at this point and go down to 0, 0. Well, in that case, your rise, you're going down, so your rise is -1, and then you're going left, which is also negative. Okay? And you're going left, -4. Well, what's a negative divided by a negative? That's a positive. You still get 1/4 as your slope. Okay? Alright, now remember, this is also constant because it's got a constant rate of change. So slope is rate of change, and the special thing about slope is it's a constant rate of change. Okay? It is a constant rate of change. So let's clear this up. Let's make a new graph here. And I'll pause the video while I make the ticks on this. Okay, so something else to keep in mind is to make sure you understand what the x is going up by, what the y is going up by, because that's going to be important, right? Okay, this is x is going up by 3s, the y is going up by 2s. Now, what if they told you to draw a line that passes through the point 9, 10, and has a slope of -3. Okay? Well, first thing, you know this line goes through what point? You know it goes through the point 9, 10. Okay? So that's one point you can for sure put on there. You know that line goes through it because it tells you the line goes through it. Okay? It also says that the slope is -3. Well, the issue here is when you think of slope, you've got a rise and you've got a run, but we only have one number here. Okay? Well, you can really easily fix that. You change it to -3 over 1, because anything divided by 1 is itself, right? So that's the same thing. That slope is -3, right? So what's your rise here? Well, you go down 3, right? Okay, let me change this slope to -2. Make it easier in this situation. Or actually, let's do -4. Okay? So, you go down 4 for every 1 you go over. Okay? Now, from 10 down 4 is 6, right? That's your rise. But that's not where your point is. You got to go 1 over. Okay, so I'm going to make a little hash mark there to show you where that point would be. Okay, and I'll show you why I'm going to make a hash mark there here in a second. Because, look, it's not on the grid, right? It doesn't meet the grid still, right? Okay, so let's go down another 4 to 4 over 1. So now we're right here, right? Again, still not on the grid. Which is fine, we'll get there eventually. Down 4 to 4 over 1. Now that one meets the grid. Okay? Now that one meets the grid there. We can make our line now. Okay? Now this is a more complicated situation of the same thing that we can do in a lot easier problem. Okay? I'm showing you a tough one here because it doesn't meet the grid right away on the first try. Okay? But let's look at this point down here. We've got 12, -2 is the coordinates of this point. Okay? Over 12 down -2. Now let's look at the change in y over the change in x. Well, from 10 okay, so here we start at 10 and we want to find the difference, the change from 10 to -2. Well, when you're talking about change, it's subtraction, right? Okay, well, how much is their vertical change from 10 down to -2? Well, from 10 to 0 is 10. You go down 2 more. That's a total change of 12, right? Okay, and we're going down 12, so that'd be -12. Okay, Now I know this problem doesn't show that, so I'll leave that negative out for now, and I'll show you in a second why you don't have to worry about that. Okay, now since we did 10 minus negative 2, we now have to find the change in x. 9, and we're going to take 9 minus 12, right? So you're looking at, you go from 9, okay, on the x, how much did you change from 9 to 12? Well, if you keep the same pattern, 10 minus negative 2, you have to do 9 minus 12, and you'll get negative 3. Okay, so this equals negative 4. Positive 12 divided by negative 3 gives you negative 4. Now let's try it the other way. Say we did from negative 2 minus 10 over 12 minus 9. Remember, if you do the negative 2 first, you got to do the 12 first. Well, let's look. From negative 2 to 10, how much difference is it? Negative 12. Okay, 12 minus 9 is now positive 3. Still, negative divided by positive gives you a negative 4. Okay, now you can look on the graph if you want. You can do rise over run. Again, from 10 down to negative 2, well, that rise is actually, it's a negative rise. It's going down 12, so you got negative 12. What's your run when you go down 12? You go over 3 from 9 to 12. Still get negative 4. So this is the correct line for this. Okay, so I'll show you a little easier of an example here real quick. Say instead we had something simple. Okay, say it goes up by ones. I'll show you the same idea in a simpler way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And you got negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Now, say it passes through the point 1, 2. And you have a slope of 1/2. Okay? This is a lot easier example of the same thing. Again, you know for sure it passes through over 1 up 2, right? That coordinate, it passes through 1, 2. And your rise over run is up 1 over 2 from this. Up 1 over 2. Okay? So if you start at 1, 2 and you go up 1 from that, 2 is your y. So you're now at 3. Okay? Up 1 from 2 over 2 from 1. So you'd be at 0.33, which is exactly where we're at. Okay? Now you can also go down 1 to the left 2. Okay? Because that's 2 negatives. 2 negatives divided by each other make a positive, right? So it's still a positive 1/2. All right? And then you can draw your line through those points. Okay? So that's the same thing, just a little simpler numbers. I showed you a more difficult one and a more simple one there. Last thing, remember, whenever you're trying to figure out what goes on the x and what goes on the y, if it tells you the unit rate is $3 per person, now remember, slope is change in y over change in x. Well, what's going to be on the y, dollars or people? Well, when your rate, your constant rate of change, you've got dollars. So your y value that changes is going to change by dollars. And your x value is labeled as per person. So your x will be people. Number of people, right? So in this case, say you start at 0, 0, you'd go up $3 for every one person. And then you could draw a line from there. Okay? Alright, hopefully this helped out a little bit. Remember, the main thing is slope is always vertical change over horizontal change. Rise over run. Change in y over change in x. Okay? All you need to do is find 2 points, and then you can find the change in y over change in x in any situation. You always need to find 2 points for a line. If it goes through the origin, 0, 0 is a great place to start. All right, good luck.